Yes, Pickens Jackson.
Hey, what do you say we sing a driving song?
There's not going to be any singing around here. Just
real sports.
On the Afternoon Drive with Jake Wimberly.
Oh, this is going to be sweet.
And it's all right here, right now on ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
Fourth day of March 2024. Welcome in. Champ of the Chair Sports Maven on a Monday. Monday. Glad to be with you in the Ameristar Casino Studios, home of the End Zone Sportsbook. Get out and play today. A lot to get out and play. College basketball, college baseball, the NBA, futures in all kinds of football and more. 4 great restaurants on the property. Everything you need at Ameristar Casino. Just go to ameristarcasino.com/Vicksburg. Get the bet builder. Get in and play. Texas 601-885-3776. That is the Cowboy Maloney's text line. Make your house a home today with Cowboy Maloney's 13 locations around the state. Online at cowboymaloneys.com. We're also brought to you by Malone Roofing Services. ecmalone.com is their website. 8337-MALONE is how you can contact Malone. Rain's coming in, so if you have any issues with leaks, roofs, all that stuff, it's supposed to rain all weekend, or a lot of the week, I think. I have to get it from our weatherman over there, get his model, see what's coming in around the central Mississippi area. But, hey, you can call us 601-897-1059. We're also on X, at Jake Wim, courtesy of Clinton Body Shop. 2 locations, Clinton and Richland. OEM factory certified, all the manufacturers you trust at Clinton Body Shop. We'll have Chris Landry. It'll be all us and you, first hour. Chris Landry, 4 to 4:30. Doug Kyle, a little baseball at 5 o'clock. Tony Tadlock, head basketball coach Raymond, going to be in the studio with us at 5:15. As Raymond gets another championship. And I want to say thanks to Beeve and thanks to Sam. Sam was here, right? Thanks to the alternate. Is that what we call the other guy? Just the other alternate worker that can cause us some problems. But thanks to him as well. And I'm kidding. But also thanks to all our guys who helped pull off all the games over the last week. A long list, but distinguished list. Appreciate Bill Wilson. And appreciate the MHSAA and the Mississippi Coliseum. Fantastic job. Great atmospheres. Were you working here for the Yazoo City Canton game Saturday afternoon? Or were you off?
Be honest, I don't remember anything but Ingomar.
Why is it that you remember just Ingomar?
Because the word Ingomar.
They got 2 championships, boys and girls, right? That Canton Yazoo City crowd was unbelievably wild, like in the best of ways. I've never seen that. Well, you'd have to go back to Monte Ellis and the great days of Provine Lanier and all the JPS battles that went on in that building. But it was so packed that the fire marshal said, no, we're not going to start the game until we can clear the aisles. I mean, it was wild. And I had to leave early, and there were people still standing outside the Coliseum. I mean, it was just, they had to turn people away. So it was nuts. It was nuts. So tell me people don't care about, especially when you get down to a rival like that, Canton and Yazoo City, but it was fun. All right, a lot to get into. Did you watch any of the Combine? Well, no, you were up here working. How could you watch the Combine? No, you didn't. I'm going to get into this. Earlier, there's a guy on X, first-round mock, former New York Jets scout Daniel Kelly. He gives a thorough breakdown of Caleb Williams. That's very fascinating. And it's a thread we'll get into, but the crux of this is stay away. Stay far, far away. Like, it is interesting because he gets into deep dive detail. It's really good. We'll get into that. Speaking of projections and stuff, DJ Uiagalelei, who will be the starting quarterback at Florida State. Of course, we'll get into basketball, baseball, all that stuff. I got some March Madness projections, bracketology, all this stuff. DJ Uiagalelei, Florida State, he said it's national championship or bust. Did you see this? National championship or bust. He said the expectations, they're high. That's what you want. You want to be able to be able to play at a place where the expectations are high, and it's ACC championship, national championship, or bust. That's the expectations Coach Norvell has, and that's the expectations this team has, including the fan base. So he said this on college sports radio on a Sirius XM satellite radio. Look, they're going to be good again. I'm going bust if I have to choose. What do you think?
Well, my immediate thought with that is expectations are high. It's championship or bust. Well, where else were expectations high? Clemson, when you were supposed to come in and take over for Trevor Lawrence and dominate.
Bust.
And that was a bust. So you're just telling me the same things. Now you're at your third school. So why would the expectations, or I'm saying, let me rephrase that. Why do you think it's going to turn out any different? Why are these big expectations different from those big expectations?
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And I agree with that 100%. Look, they'll be in the mix. Again, I think it's very, very close at the top. And again, we're rolling out. You can go to CFBHourglass.com, just some team-specific previews right now. I haven't put out the national championship preview, but it's 7-8 teams deep this year. You know, Georgia's the favorite. They should be the favorite by just a little bit. But then it's Georgia can be beat. There's not one team that's head and shoulders above the rest. It's really not. So it should be fun. Very sad news over the weekend. Chris Mortensen passes away. ESPN PR on X. ESPN is very sorry to have to share this devastating news. Award-winning journalist Chris Mortensen passed away at the age of 72. Mort was widely respected as an industry pioneer and university beloved as a supportive, hardworking teammate. Or universally loved, excuse me. He covered the NFL with extraordinary skill and passion and was at the top of the field for decades. This is it's very sad. I didn't realize he was 72. Did you like his coverage?
I did. I really did.
Yeah, I felt like it was very, very good. College Baseball Central, Wake Forest 1, TCU 2. Just looking down through here, LSU, Arkansas 4-5, Florida 7-8. A lot of SEC flavor here, 17-18, Auburn and Alabama. We'll get into the SEC. Mississippi State quietly has won 5 in a row. Are Mississippi State fans happy? They have won 5 in a row in baseball. Power League Football Media Days, courtesy of Brett McMurphy. Big 12, June 9th and 10th in Las Vegas. SEC, July 15th through the 18th in Dallas. ACC, July 22nd through the 25th in Charlotte. And Big 10 is going to be July 23rd through the 25th in Indianapolis. We'll get a little more on that. You sent me this over the weekend, but I figured I'd bring it back up. So Johnny Manziel has decided, is he broke? Because Johnny all of a sudden is trying to get back in the news. He did that interview with Shannon Sharp. Did you see that? About his dad. And, you know, we talked to Olin Buchanan about that a few weeks ago. Saying his dad came to Kevin Sumlin and basically wanted a $3 million deal, that wouldn't surprise me. I'm sure that probably happened. But Johnny Manziel on X over the weekend, after careful thought and consideration, I will be humbly removing myself from the Heisman Trophy ceremony until Reggie Bush gets his trophy back. Doesn't sit right with my morals and values. And that he can't be on the stage with us every year. Reggie is the Heisman Trophy. I'm all for Reggie having his Heisman Trophy, but I don't know that this is going to do much. Is Johnny trying to create a uprising of sorts of Heisman Trophy winners? Apparently so.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't care if Reggie Bush gets his trophy back under the rules. Under the rules at the time, it was all illegal, so that's what it all boils down to. But it's been 18 years. Whatever. It doesn't affect anything. But for Johnny Manziel, now I did not see the buzzwords he used, like morals. That's hilarious that we're talking about Johnny Manziel and morals. But as I sent you with that the other day, I said, yeah, that'll show him. Johnny Manziel, really? Are you going to create a revolution? Are you that? Do people still? Does the Heisman committee still care about you that much that oh, well, we got to rethink everything.
I don't think so. I don't know what he's doing. Why don't you go to work somewhere? Why don't you get a job? Magic Mike on the Cowboy Maloney's text line. This whole Caleb Williams thing sounds eerily like the movie Draft Day. I like that. That's right, Mike. It really does. That's a good reference. Res Dog. Holla at me Wednesday after the Buzzards blank MSU in the armpit of Rankin County. Is Pearl really the armpit of Rankin County?
It is not.
I wouldn't put it there. There's other places in Rankin County I'd call that before that. Just saying. All right, let me see here real quickly. Matt Winter Sports Law. The first hearing in Florida State's lawsuit against the ACC will be held in Florida State Court on April 9th. The first hearing in ACC's lawsuit against Florida State will be in North Carolina State Court on March 22nd. It says both should be interesting. The latest on the 4th, which will be today, the first hearing for FSU's complaint against the ACC in Leon County has been scheduled. It will be April 9th in the Leon County Courthouse, according to court records, and will allow the Judge John C. Cooper to hear the ACC's motion to dismiss or stay Florida State's suit. I would have to think in the state of Florida there will be a stay. I don't know that they will dismiss this. I would guess, but I am no attorney, and I do not work for Winter Sports Law either. I'm just speculating. There is, we'll get into this. Teams have been announced, if you care, on Big Ten Media Days. Also, a lot of other stuff from odds in the Big 12. Several things to get into. We'll get into SEC standings, where we're at in baseball, basketball, and more. We are brought to you by Ashley Howie, Crye-Lake Realtor, 769-226-3782, Facebook.com/Ashley Howie Realtor. If you're looking to buy, sell, or relocate, back in a bit.
Into sports. With Jake Wimberly on the afternoon drive.
One of the last pure pleasures I have left in my life.
Yeah, maybe you ought to get a life first, okay? On ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
Chris Landry coming up 4 to 4:30. Doug Cowles, baseball at 5 o'clock. Tony Tadlock, head basketball coach Raymond. Raymond gets another championship. He'll be in studio with us at 5:15. We'll talk about Raymond, but also some other stuff with Coach Double T coming up at 5:15. Hey, we're brought to you by Revel Ace Hardware. Revel Ace Hardware is ready to go this spring, and they want you to be ready as well. Revel Ace Hardware. Also, a lot of stuff going on. We'll be out there in the next several weeks as they're opening a new location again. Also, some open houses and more. 74 years of customer loyalty didn't just happen. It was earned. Combine that with 100 years of Gravely American manufacturing excellence, and that's what you get with Rebel. And, of course, they have instant cash rebates up to $1,500 on new brands like Gravely Zero Turn Moors. Payments as low as $78 a month. Learn more today by going to reveloutdoor.com. That's reveloutdoor.com. All right, let's see here. St. Louis Vic on the Cowboy Maloney's text line. Totally different circumstances, however. I am boycotting the ceremony as well until Juice gets his trophy back. What do you think about that? Did OJ get stripped too? I can't keep up with who got stripped and who has a trophy. Did Juice get stripped?
Yeah, I think he was supposed to. I think that was part of the. I might be not remembering this right. That was part of that stuff that was supposed to go to the family of the people he murdered.
Allegedly.
And he hid it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kept, because the trophy kept changing
Seems
hands.
Like I do remember this.
At one point, I think that was it was in the hands of some shady, like, memorabilia dealer. And I think that was the guy who, remember when OJ got thrown in jail for trying to strong arm that memorabilia dealer. I don't remember if the Heisman was part of that, but for some reason I feel like it was.
Yeah, I remember pieces of what you're saying. I'm getting to the age now where stories that far back, I remember pieces of them. Big 12 football predictions. We'll get into this way too early. I'm telling you, the Big 12 is going to be fun to watch. Nick Saban's out. Texas and Oklahoma are in. The SEC is going to be a, quote, more wide open race. These are championship odds courtesy of FanDuel. Georgia in football plus 185 at the top. Texas plus 300. That would be 3-1. Ole Miss at 6.5-1. Alabama 9.5-1. LSU 9.5-1. Tennessee 11-1. Missouri 15-1. And Texas A&M at 20-1. If you want Oklahoma, you can get them at 40. If you want Mississippi State, 200-1. Gator Matt, you can get the Gators at 110-1. South Carolina has better odds than Florida. Just think about that. So that is your SEC odds courtesy of FanDuel. Your Big 12 odds, Utah, number 1, not surprised, plus 340. Kansas State plus 360, followed by Kansas at plus 650. Now, I think Kansas is a little too high. Utah, Kansas State, about right. Arizona, figured they'd be up there 7.5-1. Texas Tech, 8.5-1. They're way too high. Here's your winner. You can go ahead and lock this up. I haven't given you a lock in a while. Let me give you a lock. Central Florida is going to win the Big 12 this year. You can get them at 11-1 right now. You lock that up. Yes, Gus Malzahn is the coach there. KJ Jefferson is going to be healthy. They have recruited as good as anybody in this new Big 12. They worked the transfer portal. That is a steal at 11-1. You can go play $100 and make $1,100. You ready? You can go over to Ameristar, bet this with Keith right now, and that can be Christmas money in the bank. Lock it up, Central Florida. They will beat Kansas State for the Big 12 championship. I feel very confident about this prediction, by the way. What say you?
Clearly you forget who's coming.
Oh.
We coming.
Well, you can get Colorado at 40-1. So if they are, in fact, going to sneak up on people, you can get them at 40-1. $100 gets you $4,000. Who's going to take that? I wonder if Teddy will bet this. You think Teddy would take Colorado at 40-1?
Probably.
Let's see. I'm looking at some of these others. It's real tight in there. Iowa State, Oklahoma State, TCU. I mean, a lot of these teams. Cam Rising is back for his 7th year. Isn't it hard to believe? I mean, this man is clicking in on a decade. Miko. The O.J. Heisman went to the memorabilia guy, and then O.J. tried to steal it back. That's why he ended up in jail. I remember, again, pieces of that. Thank you, Miko. I remember pieces of that story. Trevor Etienne. He transferred from Florida to Georgia. This was the Etienne, elder Etienne, his younger brother. He said, quote, I can stay running back 2. He was asked about this on a podcast, why he did it. He said, I could stay running back 2 on a losing team or go somewhere and possibly be running back 1 and win a national title. It's a no-brainer. It's kind of a slight towards Billy Napier, isn't it? Louvier. I love it when Jake is very confident about his picks. Go Jets. Go Saints. Y'all got to always bring up that Jets pick. I feel like I should get a mulligan for that.
No.
Slightly? I mean,
no.
The whole thing went south 4 plays into the whole season. Literally, the highlight of that whole deal was Aaron Rodgers carrying the flag out of the tunnel. That was it. I can't get any kind of a reprieve from this?
Mm-mm. No, because I told you, not just me, but people like Louvier ahead of time told you not even to do it.
As I've gotten older, I try not to get emotional about sports. It happens because you love sports, but that almost made me throw up when I saw that happen because I saw it in real time. I literally got sick to my stomach. I thought, you've got to be kidding me. And I hate it for Aaron Rodgers, but I hated it more for my ticket, and that is a horrible thing to say. 601-897-1059, Georgia offensive lineman Chad Lindbergh has entered the transfer portal as a grad transfer. Former top 200 recruit and 4-star prospect, played in 12 games this past season, so he is on the outs with Georgia. He'll head to the portal. Who do we got? Oh, we ain't got anybody. Coming back in. All right, let's see here. NFL Combine was this weekend, of course, this past week. We'll talk to Chris Landry about a lot of this. 40-yard dash times, of course, you know about Xavier Worthy at Texas, 4.21. That is just stupid speed. That is dumb. All right, let's go. Dumb in the best of ways, by the way. Nate Wiggins at Clemson was second at 4.28. Let's go to DJ. DJ, welcome in.
Jake, had you put your lock on Kansas City and Mahomes got hurt 4 plays in, that's a mulligan. But when you put your money on a 40-year-old guy and he gets hurt, that's not a mulligan. Okay. All right. To the odds again, could you give me the top 5 odds in the Big 12?
In the Big 12, you got Utah at 1 at plus 340, Kansas State at number 2 plus 360, Kansas at 6.5 to 1 at number 3, Arizona 7.5 to 1 at number 4, and Texas Tech at number 5 at 8.5 to 1.
You realize, and this may not work, but you could put $100 on 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and if any of them win, you make your money. And if 4 and 5 win, you make big money, because you think about it, 6.5 to 1, that pays you 6.5, $650. You only bet 500. So if the top 2 don't win, you could put $100 on, 3 through 7 or 3 through 8, 3 through 7, I think's right. And as long as 1 or 2 don't win it, you could win. So I like your logic. I'm not sure about We Coming. I don't think I put money on We Coming.
No, I think I'm going to stay away from that one.
But yeah, you think about it. If the top 2 don't win, you put $500, and you hope 6 or 7 win it. But if not, you still make your money as long as 1 or 2 don't win it. I'm gonna look into that, man.
Check it out. I like your logic here. See ya. Hey, we are brought to you by Premier Plastic Surgery, Dr. Erica Bass. You can give them a call, 601-981-2525. And, of course, Premier Plastic Surgery here to help you get back in shape, kickstart your fitness, and, of course, the way you look as you head towards spring and summer. And let her perform the Awake liposuction procedure in the clinic with local anesthetic. And there's little to no downtime as well. 601-981-2525. Back in a bit.
It's time to get
Back in the game.
with Jake Wimberly and the Afternoon Drive.
That's entertainment.
On the station that specializes in the Mississippi sports you love.
Now we're talking.
Live and local on ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
Brought to you by Bailey Lumber, Monday edition of the program. And, of course, Bailey Lumber can be found online at BaileyLumber.com. Also in Brandon at Mississippi Highway 471, 2150 Mississippi Highway 471, 4525 John Lynch Street in Jackson, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Special selections vary by store, limited to stock on hand. You got to go to the store, see the store for complete details. They got everything you need. Great GAF roofing specials, lumber, hardware, windows, doors, drywall, all the stuff you need at Bailey Lumber. Go to BaileyLumber.com. We'll have Chris Landry coming up at the top of the hour as we move forward. All right, let's see here. Georgia guy, let's see, we were talking Combine. We'll get some of that stuff later with Chris. AP College basketball, top 25, Houston number 1, UConn 2, Purdue 3, Tennessee 4, Arizona 5. Also, Iowa State, North Carolina, Marquette, Duke, and Creighton round out your top 10. And when we go over here and look real quickly at the men's basketball standings in the Southeastern Conference, Tennessee at number 1, 13-3. They are 23-6 overall. They're on a 6-game winning streak. Hottest team in the conference. Tennessee's on a 6-game winning streak. South Carolina, number 2, tied with Alabama at 12-4. They have won 3. They're 24-5. Alabama, number 3, tied at number 2, 20-9. Auburn, 11-5. And, of course, they got a win over Mississippi State over the weekend, 22-7. Kentucky at 11-5. They're on a 3-game winning streak, 21-8 overall. Florida, 10-6, 20-9. They're on a 1-game losing streak. Mississippi State has lost 2 in a row at 8-8, 19-10, followed by LSU at 8-8, 16-13, and Ole Miss 7-9, 20-9. And after that, it goes. I mean, you're talking the Texas A&Ms and Georgias and Arkansas of the world. If Arkansas can get to 500, I mean, you're looking at an NIT berth at best. When you look at bracketology this week, make sure this is. Well, it's a couple days ago, so probably don't have everything in here. But you look at top overall seed right now, Purdue, Villanova, and Providence. Top overall seed, Purdue, Villanova first team out. Last team in is Providence. Let me see here. Let me send this real quick. Let me look at this real quick. Okay, here we go. On the bubble, last 4 in. New Mexico, Gonzaga, Seton Hall, and Providence. First 4 out. Villanova, Utah, Colorado, and St. John's. Next 4 out, Texas A&M, Iowa, Ole Miss, and Kansas State. So if you're on the next 4 out, like if you're Ole Miss right there with Iowa, Texas A&M, and Kansas State, you got work to do. If you're just looking at this right now, no SEC teams in the play-in games. Midwest region right now, looking at SEC teams only. Auburn looks to be a 4 seed in this bracket if it were today, based on these projections. And they are the only team in the Midwest. If you go over to the West, that's the Los Angeles bracket. I am looking for Alabama at a 3 seed, and they are the only team there. So 2 teams in right now from the SEC. If you go to the East region, Boston. I was going to say Texas, but that'd be next year. Kentucky is a 4 seed. Number 1 seed, UConn, and Florida at a 7 seed. And then in the South, Mississippi State is an 8 seed, taking on Nebraska as a 9. The winner would play the Houston Cougars versus South Dakota State, which would be the Houston Cougars. And Tennessee as a 2 seed. So 6 SEC teams right now, 7. 7 SEC teams, Big 12 with the most allotment at 9. And this bracketology courtesy of ESPN. Big 10, 6, Mountain West 6, Big East 5, ACC 5, Pac-12 2, American 2, WCC, and the Atlantic 10 with 2 apiece as well. Just a little bracketology update as you move along. White Denzel, I can't wait for the 30 for 30 on Colorado football in the month of September 2023. Are we doing a 30 for 30 on that month? Just the month. Brad, the last 4 out, next 4 out garbage has got to stop. If you're not in, of course, you're out. We all need to know who is in. Well, Brad, we do need to know who's in, but don't you want to know who's on the bubble? Isn't that what that's where the hook is, right? That's the media hook. You're right there on the bubble. You're in the first 4 out, or you're the next 4 out. So you pick up those teams and those fan bases by the hook. See, it hooked Brad into texting. He got hit by the hook and didn't even know it.
I get Brad's anger because they always tell you the bubble exists all year. And then even on Selection Sunday, the first one out. So by telling you, they're the first team out, it's like they're trying to make you feel good. Oh, look how close we were. Only 1 spot away. Oh, well, NIT. People really care? You're trying to make them feel better by telling them you're the first team out? It means you're the first team that wasn't good enough.
That's true. That is true. 601-897-1059 if you want to give us a call.
You know what? Speaking of media hooks, now I think that's the same thing as that was a good loss. A good loss, a close loss.
Makes you feel better about your team.
Yeah.
Right? It's kind of soothing over those emotions.
What they think they're doing.
That's exactly what they think they're doing.
And by they, I include you.
Do I do that?
Because you're in the good loss bucket.
Well, there are such things as good losses.
No.
You don't believe that?
No. Loss is a loss. Loss.
I mean, all right, do you expect much out of Mississippi State this year?
No.
If they were to play Georgia down to the final few minutes in football, 4-quarter game, and lose, is that not a good loss?
No, because it's a loss. It'd be good if you won. I get you can take the whole, oh, well, I saw some nice things. We can build on this, coach speak. We can take this out there. We can build on this. We just got to get better. Lost. I mean, what if next year Aaron Rodgers comes back and you place your bet on the Jets again, and whoops, 7-10, but what if all 7 of those, or all 10 of those losses are by 2 points or less? So at the end, are you going to say, oh man, you know what? Those were some good losses though. 7-10. Think about it.
Not at all. Speaking of, you can get the Jets right now at 30-1. What's a better value? The Jets at 30-1 or the Cowboys at 15-1? I mean, you'll make more money on the Jets, but what's a better value?
Value? Loose choices, man. You always give me 2 loose choices. It's so loose. The Jets are so loose, though, that I would take the Cowboys at 15-1 over that. Those are my only 2 choices. And I know neither are going to hit.
What's a better bet? Dallas at 15-1 or the Dolphins at 22-1? It's a harder road in the AFC.
That's tough. I'd still go Cowboys.
Really?
Yeah, because unless you can play every game in Miami. Because we know how that goes. You know especially how that goes. For some reason.
It's been that way for decades. Decades. Transcends the iPhone, the internet, everything. Global warming. Pick a subject. It has always been that way, right? Dolphins can't play outside of Miami. Especially when they get north of the Mason-Dixon. They're going to be a cool breeze, and they're going to lose on the road. 601-897-1059. We're brought to you by Gutter Masters. Head over to the website, guttermastersllc.com, 601-503-7755. Back in a bit.
Ladies and gentlemen, the time has come to go
Back to the afternoon drive with Jake Wimberly. With the hottest sports stories of the day.
For one of those moments, it only happens
right here
On ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
We're brought to you by Wimp McGee. He is the Mortgage Man. Online at mortgagemanms.com for more information. Rates, loans, the rate process. Bank of England Mortgage, a century of American stability. That is Wimp McGee. You can find him at mortgagemanms.com. We're brought to you by Maristar Casino. Get out and play today. Jason and Flagstaff. The media complaining about the media will never not be funny, Humbeaver. Who is he referencing? Who? I think he's calling you media.
Nope. That's not true.
You're not media?
No. But now, okay, if you consider, 105.9, the people at 105.9 who you consider the media. Now, there's a vast difference between this and the national talking heads who beat things into you every single minute, every single hour, every single day. Like J.J. McCarthy.
By the way, I have a story teed up on him. There's another. This guy may be the first pick by the time we get to the draft.
You know, I have decided this dude is absolutely going to be the 3rd quarterback taken now. This dude has jumped up from he was considered maybe 6th. He's going to be the 3rd quarterback after Caleb Williams, Drake May, and J.J. McCarthy because he weighed at 219. Oh, changes everything. Game changer because he weighed 219.
2024 NFL Draft. Mock draft. J.J. McCarthy sneaks into top 3. As 4 QBs go, top 5 AFC contenders trade up for wide receiver. So now this mock draft that I'm looking at has Caleb Williams still at 1, Jaden Daniels 2, J.J. McCarthy 3. So he's only got 2 more guys to be out. He's up to 3 off the board at the Patriots.
Where'd Drake May go?
He has slid to 5th to the Vikings. So McCarthy is now in front of May. I don't know that he can get in front of Williams. I think he can get in front of Daniels. And that's a kiss of death if he goes to Washington. It's a kiss of death to anybody, just about it. But I am of the opinion now he is going to be 1 or 2. And if Caleb Williams acts a fool over the next month, he may go 1.
No.
You're disgusted by this.
I am. I just don't think that anybody's going to pass Caleb Williams. You say act a fool. But these various stories, though, allegedly, been acting a fool for 2 years now. And, he's still good. We got to go get him.
Let's see here. Speaking of Caleb Williams, let me read this scouting report from this first-round mock. First-round mock on X, former New York Jets scout Daniel Kelly. So this isn't just a normal guy. I mean, this is a scout, former NFL scout. He says, as a former NFL scout, one of the 2 things that's happening here with Caleb Williams, this was over the weekend. A, Caleb Williams possesses the greatest threat to the NFL's infrastructure that I've ever seen in a prospect, with all the documented examples of him putting himself above the team and a process, or the process. B, Carl Williams, Caleb's dad, is desperately trying to manipulate the process and get his son to drop in the draft because of his documented disdain for the process as written in The Athletic. And The Athletic did do a piece on this, and he links this with documentation. Quote, Carl has questioned the NFL rookie wage scale, the draft declaration deadline, eligibility rules, medical testing, and the ways players are paid. In a September interview with GQ, he expressed disdain for the entire draft process, where, quote, the worst possible team with the worst organization in the league because of the desire for parity gets to pick first. So Carl Williams, Caleb's dad, is totally just cannot stand the whole system. Either way, he says, I have a 4th round grade on him after studying every single snap he's taken the past 2 seasons. 4th round. He says, bottom line, all the stuff aside, he's an elite athlete who's underdeveloped as a quarterback. It's important to be able to separate the two. It's important to be able to tell the difference between the highlights and his full body of work. I can guarantee you the unrelenting Caleb Williams highlight mainstream media has been pushing down our throats for the past 2 years is not the real Caleb Williams that's on game film. I provide all the links of his games the past 2 seasons in my scouting reports, and you can see it for yourself. Either way, I've removed him from my draft board after he decided not to throw at the combine, and this is my professional recommendation to every NFL team. Remove Caleb Williams from your draft board. Those are the words on my cover letter that's attached to my resume. This is a team game that's built on organizational and league hierarchy and structure, and I've seen enough to remove him. I barely had time to make that decision before he decided not to make his medicals available to teams at the combine. So he is basically saying, look, this guy's a 4th round pick. He's not ready to be a 1st round pick. Now he'll get picked in the top 5. But it's interesting because I remember very similar. There was a couple scouting reports out on Johnny Manziel, very similar. Very, very similar from just some scouts that never got traction. And they're like, hey, this guy's a red flag. He's an athlete playing quarterback. It's not gonna happen. And most of the league just disregarded it and it happened. And again, I'm not cheering against Caleb Williams here. I'm just giving you one scout's opinion. What do you think of this?
That very interesting. That 4th round grade, because that's literally all that's been pounded in our heads is top 3, top 3, top 3, top 3. 4th round. Interesting.
It is. Unnamed texter Caleb Williams is the next NFL bust. Buffalo Chris. I think Caleb Williams is going to be a flop. I think between him and his father, they are trouble. Just his opinion. So that is Buffalo Chris, too. They're from. This is very interesting. I put this out on X on the weekend. If you want to go find it, just go to my X feed. This guy says, God have mercy on the team that drafts him, because the real party begins once he's in a building and he's the focal point of NFL media. That's when we will find out what Caleb and Carl really have to say. Every piece of information is a piece in this puzzle, and it's, as an evaluator, the pictures coming into focus do not look good. So, I mean, he backs this thing and tags NFL teams that need quarterback. This guy has put his work in for sure. So, I mean, who knows if it's right? Who knows if it's wrong? Time will only tell us as we move forward. Also, college football is expected to add 3 new things: helmet communication, tablets on sideline and halftime, and the 2-minute warning. Let's see. Other stuff that we'll get into here as we reach the top of the hour. Chris Landry will join us 4 to 4:30. We'll talk some baseball with Doug Kyle at 5, and Tony Tadlock will be in studio at 5:15. 601-885-3776. That is the Cowboy Maloney's text line. We're brought to you by A1 Gear and Auto, your hometown vehicle specialist. Anything under the hood: water pumps, rear end differentials, engines, starters, radiator, heat, or AC. They'll help you. 601-939-1060. Let A1 Gear and Auto get your vehicle in hometown shape, in the best shape possible. 601-939-1060. That's A1 Gear and Auto. Chris Landry coming up next.
You have reached
WRKS Pickens Jackson. From college football to the NFL to high school football, 365 days a year. Hear it all on Jackson Sports Authority. Live and local at 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com. Now let's get back to the afternoon drive with Jake Wimberly.
Hour 2 on a Monday, brought to you by Mississippi Legends Grill. Everybody knows your name at Mississippi Legends Grill. Get out and enjoy all week long. Bingo, trivia, Kids Eat Free Thursday, Catfish Friday, Fried Chicken Friday, all the stuff you like. Corner Castlewoods Drive and Lakeland Drive. That is Mississippi Legends Grill. Get the lunch special of the day on Facebook.com/Mississippi Legends Grill. Also, we're brought to you by Maristar Casino. Chris Landry, 4 to 4:30 on Mondays, NFL, college, and more. Chris, welcome in, sir. How are you?
Good, Jacob. How you doing, man?
We're doing good. Just chalking through things, reading some crazy scouting report from on. You know how X is, Chris. You can, or Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. You can find anything you want out there, and all kinds of stuff. I wouldn't expect you to talk about this from this aspect, but I was reading an excerpt in the last segment. Let me see. It's from. Let me tell you who he is. Like, you may know the guy. It's an former NFL scout, and I have no idea what his credibility is like. None of that stuff. But it was on Caleb Williams, and I was reading it over the weekend. Let's see. There it is right here. And it's from a guy named Daniel Kelly, former Jet scout. Basically, I mean, he breaks this thing down and basically at the end of the day says, hey, look, stay away from Caleb Williams. He's a 4th-round pick. This is a disaster waiting to happen. But it's amazing the narratives and what you see, the varying of opinions of players at this time of year.
It is. It's one of the things that I think we've talked about, like at the Combine, which I just got back from last night, was, it's about medicals and as much as you can get to know these guys. The physical part of how well they play is not very difficult to ascertain. It's just, it's trying to find out what makes the guys tick. You can't ask a guy if they love football, they work hard. Of course, the answer is going to be yes. You have to ask things that's going to get you to the answer. And I think there's some interesting things in today's modern athlete. I'm old school. I think you and people that have listened to me here know that probably. But when I was the director of the combine, it was a lot different. We didn't have a lot of things. Guys they all wanted to work out, and now it's a different world. And I think there's a lot of things, and I'm curious to see going forward. NIL is going to change this. So Caleb Williams, and I don't know, I can't verify this, but the reports are, and I'm not talking media reports, but reports inside USC is that he made over $10 million at USC in NIL. So he is, and his dad, Caleb Williams, has got a bit of a helicopter dad. So, these guys are going to be businessmen in college. So by the time they want to go to the NFL, it's like they've got experience. They're not willing to just do whatever, and I'm not quite sure he's the first guy in 42 years that never participated in the medical physicals. Now, he's going to have to take physicals with probably 3 to 5 teams. Why wouldn't you want to take one physical and be done with it? But is a little bit of a, I'm different. I'm better than everybody. I don't need to do what everybody else does because that's, something that would concern me a little bit. But I'd have to find out more about what is this guy like. Look, I just a quick example, when Ryan Leaf came out, Mike Price talked him up. Great guy, Chris. He's great. He's this, he's that. The people in Montana where he went to high school, not as excited about him. But what? At the combine, I asked him. He came out same year as Peyton Manning, and all Peyton Manning wanted to know in the interview was, how could he get one of those Betacam machines so he can begin to look at film? And those are not like the old Betacams you use in your house. These are like $200,000 machines that it's all digitized now. But he wanted, when you asked Ryan Leaf, he wanted to get his boys together. He wanted to take a trip to Jamaica. That was what he wanted to do. That's all they could talk about. There's nothing wrong with that, but it tells you a little bit where the mindset is. And, of course, Ryan Leaf went through some rough times personally, and he's actually doing what you do. He's hosting radio and doing stuff like that. So he's got his life together. But it's really more about what a guy does. And, listen, I think there's always that danger that somebody could flame out. I beg Al Davis and Bruce Kebrick of the Raiders, don't take Jamarcus Russell. I knew him just intimately very well, and I knew how lazy he was, and I knew that he was a bust waiting to happen. It wasn't like any brilliance on my part at all. It just was obvious to me, not so obvious to people didn't know him. When you get to know these guys and you get to know the right people, that's when you can really determine what you have, because this is a big-time investment people are making.
Chris Landry on your radio, Monday edition of the program. And, of course, find him at Landry Football, LandryFootball.com. Chris, is the hype around, and I know we talked to you about him before, but he just continues to climb around J.J. McCarthy. A lot of mock drafts, and again, we take that for what it's worth, mock drafts, but moving him up to number 3. I mean, look, how high is this guy going to climb, and is the product worth the hype?
I think he'll be a top 10 pick. I think the 3 that are mentioned, JJ, and I think Michael Penix, will all be drafted in the first round. For kind of what I talked about last week, the supply and demand, the importance of the position, the fact that these guys are so valuable. And I think here's the thing with JJ. JJ is more of a cerebral guy. He's got a good arm. He's not asked in that offense at Michigan to carry his team. So he's not going to have the numbers and do those things. Am I as confident in him as I am in Jaden Daniels, for example? No. But I think he's a guy that's going to be pretty good. I don't know exactly where he's going to go yet, but I think he's going to go in the top 10 because as it gets closer and closer, the teams that don't have a quarterback, what do you do? So you see, right now, the teams that are still in the quarterback race, let's see what happens in free agency. What do the Falcons do? Do they make a run at Kirk Cousins? What about Denver? Do they make a run at Kirk Cousins? Does Kirk Cousins go back to Minnesota? I mean, it just as an example. Well, what happens there, one of those teams may not be as inclined to go for a quarterback. The one that doesn't might be more inclined to go and maybe even move up to get him. So, look, could this be another situation like when the Giants took Daniel Jones? Possibly. I think JJ's better, but time will tell. I think he's going to be a top 10, top 12 pick in this draft. I do.
Chris, let me ask you this before we go to break. 40 times, when you look at like Xavier Worthy out of Texas, 4.21, breaks a record. Nate Wiggins, 4.28. I mean, there's some unbelievable times, but that 4.21, does that move a player's stock potentially up, or is it minimal or negligible? What is the value on a high 40 time, but then a record 40 time?
Well, here's the thing. It to me, no one should be surprised. When we did it on LandryFootball.com, a forecast who's going to be the fastest guy, he was the guy, and the whole tone was he's going to be chasing John Ross, and could he get in the, sub 4.25s, and he did. So it wasn't a surprise. If you watch him on film, that's exactly what he is. He's a speedster. So it's not going to. It shouldn't affect him because it's what he does on film all year long. Now, he's a different type of guy. He's got some size. He's not great in the 50-50 ball. So what he is on film is what he is on film. Speedster is what I expected what he is. In terms of speed, here's the kind of the little misnomer about 40s. I'm more concerned about statistical measurables with regard to 40s or 10-yard times or short shuttles. Do they meet a certain metric? For example, if Xavier Worthy ran 4.21, which he did, or he ran 4.35, it doesn't make a hill of beans difference. Fast is fast. Okay, now, if you tell me a corner doesn't look fast on film, and he comes to the combine and he runs 4.68, Jacob, there's no corner is going to live in the NFL running 4.68. It can't live there. It can't survive there. So that's if you meet a certain metric, if you're a certain minimal speed, you're fine. Anything above that is gravy, or as we say in Louisiana, lagniappe. It's extra, it's great, but you shouldn't take Xavier Worthy. If you thought he was the mid first round, you shouldn't move him up and top out because he ran 4.21. That doesn't make him a better player. But he's fast, and he knew he would be fast. It's just more of, can you meet a certain metric? And there wasn't any doubt that he was going to.
Chris Landry, talking NFL Combine. We got some more NFL, maybe a little college when we come back. We're brought to you by our friends at Ranco Transmission, 1460 Old Brandon Road in Flowwood, 601-939-9184, 50-plus years, foreign and domestic, back in a bit.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, and welcome back to the Afternoon Drive with Jake Wimberly, where he's talking about anything and everything that's Mississippi sports.
No, great afternoon.
Right here on ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online worldwide on thezone1059.com.
We're brought to you by Malone Roofing Services. ecmalone.com is your website to find Malone Roofing Services. 8337 Malone, commercial residential roofing done right with Malone Roofing Services. Chris Landry on X at Landry Football, also LandryFootball.com. Chris, I'm looking at a report here from Tom Pelissero. Says, no surprise, the new kickoff rule crafted by NFL special teams coordinators, I have not had a chance to get off into this yet, I want to get your thoughts, would allow teams to attempt an onside kick only when trailing in the fourth quarter and require them to declare it in advance per sources, language still being finalized and must be approved by the owners. In the sake of, I would assume, safety here, this is being done, but this seems like this is a very weird, odd, I don't know how you want to frame it up, dumb onside kick rule. Help me out here. What's going on here?
Yeah, I hate it. I do. I think it's becoming... they've been kind of alluding to eventually just taking the kickoff out of the game, and they are. I mean, think about that too. It's like you talking about where they're going to kick the ball off from, where you and if you don't kick it in the air to the 20, it comes out to the 40. I mean, to me, it's an important part of the game. I hate them just fooling with it that much. I don't like it. And safety is, we're going to talk about safety, but we're going to play. We want to go to an 18-game schedule, and we want to play Thursday night, and on short weeks like that. Tell me that makes any sense. I mean, it's ridiculous. We're going to make it safety, and we're going to do everything we can, except when it's going to cost us money. In which case, we're going to tell everybody we're being safe, but no, we're not going to forsake money for that.
Yeah, you went right where I wanted to go to next is now the push for an 18-game regular season. Now, the fans would love it. We all love it. It's more football. But again, how do you? And I don't know. Is this close to being a done deal with an 18-game schedule? And if so, you would think. Because that's more television dollars, that's more revenue. But you can't preach player safety on onside kicks yet. Oh, by the way, guys, you need to go play 4 more quarters of football.
Yeah, it's almost like they need to table that, don't you think? Just for
right.
Just aesthetics for another year and make people forget what you did, because it's like, yeah, that makes no sense at all. The Players Association have to agree to it. The Players Association is going to say another game. You know what they're going to say, right? Another game, more money, greater percentage,
yep.
And so they're going to have to go through. All right, this is how much more money we're going to get. Here's the thing about it is. These games mean so much. Think about what Amazon paid for Black Friday, a Miami Jets game. $100 million for one game, and they're like, it went so well, I think they would probably pay, 25% more than that. I mean, and we've got these streaming. So I think they're looking for creative ways to make more money, and I think we're going to go to 18 at some point, and maybe it is going to be sooner than later. I've always believed we could go in. I believe in extending the season with more weeks and not necessarily having more games. And so what I mean by that is everybody have 2 buys. And so we would have maybe a 20-week season of games, but you wouldn't have more games. So you would maybe make sure that you had enough bye weeks to where no one would play, have to play on a Sunday and then turn around to play on a Thursday, for example. That's what was my view. Now, I think it makes sense to a degree, but remember how much money that YouTube TV plays, Google, who owns them, pays for the Sunday ticket. So if you take away and you get less and less games that are on Sunday ticket, maybe they can't charge as much. They can't charge as much, then the NFL can't, charge as much. So you see where I'm going with it.
Sure.
It's all follow the money, and it takes you through all the answers. So if you're wondering if this is going to happen, if it's going to make more money, the answer is yes.
Chris, let me ask you this. Just shift gears real quick to college, and we still got a ways to go. We still got to go through spring practice, see what churns out with the transfer portal and such. What is your thoughts on a potential by three annual signing period for college football?
I've always believed in having an early signing day in the summer and then having the regular signing day. I would move it back to late February. I just think giving it a little bit more time for coaching changes and things like that to sign. Having it in December, early December, all that does is eliminate some of the chaos of giving you. It basically would give them a 7-day or 10-day window for the players before the playoffs. As we all know, playoffs are starting, so that the playoffs are going to be sooner. So getting that done so that you're not dealing with signing day, getting ready for the playoffs, coaching changes all at once, it alleviates some of it. So I understand what they're doing. I just don't think it's enough. I think they need to look at A couple of other options. There's a lot of viewpoint that are pushed back against what I've suggested, having an early signing day in August for the high school kids that want to get it out of the way, because if you think about it, how many of them are going to want to sign if they don't know what the future is with coaches on the staff leaving? I don't know that it would do a whole lot. I'm willing to try it, but I don't know that that's getting a lot of push, although that's at least under discussion. I'm always a believer in the calendar in college football is just awful. And I think as we add the playoffs, we have to understand that one of the real issues that I have, and where I think they should take onus from the NFL, is have the season and have everything kind of matriculate towards the season, and then have the end of season. Now, it's complicated in college because you've got school and you've got kids that have to be enrolled for the second semester and all of that. But I think they need to look at it. I just don't know that I'm on board for a December signing day at all. I don't like it. I didn't like it and still don't like it where they're moving it. Maybe it's better than earlier than later, like better December 4th than December 20th, but it's not good in my view. I just think given a little bit more time is better. And then if somebody wants to sign early, the other thing is I'm not so sure that there's anything wrong with saying, look, if a kid wants to sign any time in the fall, if he's committed, let him sign. Why does he have to wait? Let him sign. Let him sign in October if he decides. That's as simple as handing it in. I think that all needs to be looked at in my view.
Make sure to find him on X at Landry Football, also LandryFootball.com. Chris, I appreciate your time as always. Good stuff. We'll catch up and we'll chalk through some other stuff next Monday. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate you.
Thanks so much. Chris Landry on your radio. As we move through, we'll recap some of that. We'll get into some of these rules, what this new NFL onside kick rule. There's more to this than what we talked about. Also, the 18-game schedule proposal by the National Football League. And later on, there's a map out there that reveals the most the hottest UFO sightings in the country. Have you ever seen a UFO? I think I did one time. I think I did. I'll tell you about that later. Hey, we're brought to you by Janie King, the king of clean. That's JannieKingCleans.com. Let them help you in your place of worship or church, also medical facilities, schools, buildings, offices, you name it, they can do it. Keep clean, keep healthy, get those germs away out of your workspace, out of your daily life. Go to JannieKingCleans.com. That's JannieKingCleans.com. Back in a bit.
Okay, we're back. I'm ready. It's more of the afternoon drive with Jake Wimberly, where he's live and local on Jackson Sports Authority, ESPN 105.9 The Zone, and online at thezone1059.com.
We're brought to you by the MHSAA. Officially become official today. 601-924-6400. If you've got questions to become an official, go to MISSHSAA.com. Make a little money. Stay in shape. Give back to your community with the MHSAA today. Appreciate Chris Landry jumping in. We'll talk a little baseball with Doug Kyle at 5 o'clock. Tony Tadlock, head basketball coach over at Raymond. Raymond gets the championship over the weekend. He'll be in with us to talk some hoops and sports for a few segments as we head into the back end of the show. SEC baseball standings. I'll get back to some of the NFL here. Tennessee has, no, they're not. Texas A&M is the hottest team in the league. They won 11 straight. The Aggies are 11-0. 11 straight, 11-0. They lead the SEC West. Alabama, on one, they lost their first game of the weekend. They're 11-1. Tennessee, second hottest team in the league. They've won 10 in a row. They're 11-1. Georgia's 10-1, Kentucky's 10-1, Vanderbilt's 10-3, Florida 8-3. Vanderbilt's won 5 in a row. South Carolina is 8-3. Missouri, the only team upside down at 5-6. Missouri's not any good at basketball. They're not good in baseball. They put everything into football. Isn't that weird? Like, it just seems that way. Missouri has is Missouri a football school now? That is wild, right? The Missouri Tigers are a football school. Let's see. Texas A&M, though, in the SEC West, 11-0. LSU is 11-1. They've won 6 in a row. Arkansas has won 5 in a row. They're 9-2. Auburn, a 2-game winning streak. They're 9-2. State is on a 5-game winning streak. They're 8-4. And Ole Miss 8-5. They've won 2 in a row. So the only team that's upside down in the league is the predominant football school known as Missouri. Real unnamed texter talking about the deal with Caleb Williams. He says, sounds like LeVar Ball and Son. Speaking of, whatever happened to them? I don't know. Do you ever hear anything out of LeVar Ball?
No, LeVar. Okay, they all start with an L, so that was the dad. Yeah, LeVar. I haven't heard from LeVar, and it's amazing to think back how that was such a quick, ridiculous phenomenon. Like, that dude was the center of the media. And
he was actually funny, though. Or at least he was to me. He made me laugh. You didn't think he was funny?
No.
You're just no nonsense. None of these guys.
And, well, that's because people of your ilk played into this.
What do you mean? I didn't ever think
media phenomenon.
I didn't think that they were going to be. I didn't think that he was raising 3 Jordans. I was.
Didn't you?
No.
I think you specifically told me that one time.
Family of Michaels.
Mm-hmm.
Family of Michaels. Let's see here.
But yeah, and to answer that question of where they are, if I remember right, Lonzo's with the Bulls and hasn't played in 2 years, by the way. He got hurt early 2022 and hasn't played since then. The other kid, he's with the Hornets. He's played more recently, but he is also injured, and they don't know when he's coming back.
I just got a text that said Missouri is actually a gymnastics school. Laughing. Are they good at gymnastics?
Yeah, I'll believe that.
I'm going to go with it. Let's see. I'm going to go that Missouri is a gymnastics school. Unnamed texter. Caleb Williams would not be a top 5 quarterback in the SEC. He's a communications major. That's a joke. His communication is I talk, you listen. I don't know that he wouldn't be a top 5. I mean, look, Caleb Williams is a great talent. There's 2 things at play here, and 2 things can be true at the same time. He is 100% a great athlete. Played the quarterback position well in college. I think he would have been fine at any school he was at. It's just all the extra that's coming along. We're going to see how that manifests itself, as Aaron Rodgers would say. Tiger Bait. Olivia, is that Dunn or is that Dunye?
Dunn.
Olivia Dunn is a gymnastics school. What is Olivia Dunn?
Olivia Dunn is a gymnastics school. Well, she's at LSU, but is a gymnast. I'm not sure what you're saying to me.
Maybe he's just renamed LSU as Olivia Dunn University. CWR. Remember, LeVar and his kids were better than Jordan. Well, that's what he wanted you to believe. Rebel Greg sends a snapshot. Heartbreak. Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift haven't spoken in days and are reportedly close to breaking up, according to sources close to the couple. Are you surprised by this?
Greg, don't do this. Leave the girl. Leave this alone. We're past this. Leave. Who's that? Remember the weirdo? Leave Britney alone back in the day.
Yeah.
Leave Swiftie alone, man.
Free Britney.
She's in Singapore. Maybe that's why they haven't talked in a couple days. Why are you worried about it, Greg? Why are we still worried about this?
You know people are going to dial into this. Who did I bet? Somebody's going to owe me some money or a dinner. Because I said they wouldn't make it to June, and somebody said yes, they would. I mean, they're about broke up right now, and it's March. Somebody's going to owe me something. All right, let me get back into this story on the NFL kickoff. I want to come back to this other college football story. But Tom Pelissero, no surprise, the new kickoff rule crafted by NFL special teams coordinators would allow teams to attempt an onside kick only when trailing in the fourth quarter and require them to declare it in advance per sources. So think about that. Your 49ers are down to the Dallas Football Cowboys in the playoffs. And it's in the fourth quarter, but you have to tell them and declare we're about to kick an onside kick. Isn't element of surprise a part of the onside kick? Which makes it, I mean, the onside kick is still one of the biggest game changers in sports, or potential game changers, because you can at any moment kick an onside kick, and if the other team isn't ready, if you're down, I mean, we've seen comebacks happen from onside kicks. We've seen double-digit leads dissolve because of onside kicks. I mean, we've seen it all. So why would we take the element of surprise out of this?
Not only that, but so the onside kick is supposed to require, it's a portion of it is luck, of course, but supposed to require an extra skill. But also part of this is they're talking about this new proposal would allow the kicking team to have a, quote, unbalanced formation, giving them an advantage to be able to potentially recover more kicks. So I could see what they're trying to do here. The thinking here would be, oh, well, you know, this team is down because it's all about offense. We want to see points scored, all that stuff. So, it gives a team a better chance to come back. Ball in their hands, more offense. So you're trying to just help a team who's losing a game. Oh, well, this will help. This will help them come back.
So maybe I missed this in the NFL rules. Can you not use an unbalanced line on an onside kick now? Because you can in high school and college.
No, and I'm going to be honest. I keep seeing that everywhere. That's part of this today is they're talking about unbalanced formation. What is the current formation? What is the current balanced formation?
Well, if you got a kicker, you got 5 on each side.
Okay.
5 and 5.
Okay, so this would be a 6-4.
Yes, that's what it says right here. It says, Pelissero says if the kickoff team declares they're attempting an onside kick, they potentially could be allowed to utilize the unbalanced 6-4 formation, raising odds of recovery. Just 5.2% were recovered in 2023, and they're just 2 surprise onside kicks, thanks largely to run-ups being banned. It also says NFL special teams coordinators met Saturday at the Combine. Other notes on the proposal: setup zone, as they're calling it, the setup zone. The kickoff or kick and return teams would line up on the receiving team's 40 and 35-yard lines, respectively, and not leave until the ball is touched or reaches the target zone. So you have to wait for the ball to hit this zone before you even move.
Yeah. 1 second. I want to go back to this onside thing because it's just hit me. The thing about you have to report. You have to report that you're going to onside kick. Let's think back to that Saints Super Bowl. Sean Payton came out at the end of halftime, opened the third quarter, surprise onside kick. And now I'm going back to what you said. Shouldn't the element of surprise be part of that? Yeah. What? This is ridiculous. Now that I really think about this, I hate this. And these are professional football players, and we've got to try to give them an advantage. You're professionals. You shouldn't have to have an advantage. But on to your kickoff. Yeah, think about that. So if it hits in the end zone, it comes out to the 35. But if it hits in the target zone, which would be the 20, and roll to the end zone, it starts at the 20. So a touchback, they're both touchbacks, but they're going to start at different places. That's stupid.
The whole rule is dumb. Whoever put this together is an idiot. Tiger bait. Didn't the Saints win the Super Bowl on an onside kick? Yeah, it definitely helped propel that comeback. Real quickly, one more note on this. We'll get back more into this. Under new health and safety-related rules in 2023, just 22% of kickoffs were returned, none in the Super Bowl. The NFL tasked special teams coordinators with creating a rule that both increases return rates and delivers an acceptable injury rate. This is their proposal, and we'll get into that as well. We're brought to you by New South Narrow Spine, Mississippi Spine Center, online at ns2.md. Hey, open Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Also Saturdays till 1 p.m. That's New South Neurospine in Flowood. You can walk in the Spine Center on Flowood Drive or go to ns2.md. Back in a bit.
This is the home of the Chuck Oliver Show every weekday from 10 till noon on Mississippi's live and local sports authority. And where? We're back to Jake Wimberly with the afternoon drive on ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
Brought to you by Maristar Casino. Get out and enjoy 4 great restaurants on the property. Also, the Bottleneck Blues Bar on the weekend. Stay, play, and dine at Central Mississippi's premier gaming destination, the Maristar Casino Hotel. We'll have Doug Kyle on at 5 o'clock. Talk a little college baseball. Tony Tadlock, head basketball coach Raymond, will be in studio at 5:15. And if I can twist his arm, we're going to keep him here to the end of the show. Talk some basketball, of course, talk some sports. Boy, what a story. I mean, a lot of great stories coming out of the weekend. 14 championships crowned down at the Mississippi Coliseum in basketball. The awards ceremony for Mr. and Mrs. Basketball will be tomorrow at the MHSA offices. Always a fun time and a great job the MHSA does with that, honoring great players and athletes and student athletes throughout the year. But Coach Tadlock and what they've done out at Raymond is just unbelievable. I mean, just think about that. Out there in Raymond, and a whole lot in Raymond, right? Got Hines Community College, great area. But, man, they have built a basketball mecca over there in Raymond. All right, let me get caught up over here on the Cowboy Maloney's text line. Unnamed texter talking about this kickoff rule or onside kick. You don't have to put the ball on the ground sideways to don't you have to put the ball on the ground sideways to declare an onside kick now? I don't think so, but I could be wrong. I mean, look, these kickers are so skilled with this now. I mean, even in the high school level, you see kickers that are really good. I mean, teams work on this. I mean, we talked to Kevin Kelly, the coach that never punted several years ago. Is he even employed anymore? You know, he went to Presbyterian, the Blue Hose, and that was a disaster in college. But, I mean, there's a lot of – and, that's what makes high school football so fun is you get in the high school football side, and a lot of people like to clown Brandon because Sam Williams, he'll kick an onside kick. It don't matter. He's coming. It could be at any moment. So you don't know. And it can be different formations. The ball can go different ways. And I think that's the way that the onside kick is, as I got a text and somebody said on the text line, I mean, I believe it was coming out of the half. The Saints, Sean Payton kicked that onside kick right out of the half. So I mean, that's the great equalizer in football. So how do you have a great equalizer now? What are you thinking?
I'm thinking about how I said those exact words to you. And now here we are 10 minutes later. If I remember, they kicked it right after halftime.
Well, I'm just regurgitating what you said.
See, man, okay, I try not to talk here, and then you force me to talk, but then you don't listen to the words I say.
What do you mean?
I'm done here.
You're part of the show.
Done here. Minute.
Your job is to talk.
Hour 12 minutes. Done. Okay.
Oh, come on.
I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Don't do that. Don't do that. So how would you have a great equalizer now? Like, how can you come back? Other than play good defense and that kind of stuff. Churro. Announcing an onside kick is like making a married man wear his wedding ring to a strip club. Churro, thanks for coming in here with that one. Scott. Sounds like a crap rule. The element of surprise is part of the game. Northwest Rankin Mike. NFL screwing Saints again. Let's see here. Tiger Bait, while we're at it, let's just do what NFL Blitz did back in the day and give them a free extra point. Did NFL Blitz have that on the game?
Yep.
What was the setup on that?
It was just you scored and you were up 7.
Every time. Didn't matter. So I could never be up more than 7 in that game?
Oh, if you stopped a team, I guess. I can't remember the intricacies of blitz, but you could be up by more than 7. But you automatically got 7 for a touchdown.
I got you.
No need for kicks.
QB1. If you want a chance to get the ball back after scoring, then you have to convert on 4th and 20. Is that true? Is that in the NFL handbook? I'm so confused on this now. CWR, also Monday News, Notre Dame is not garbage. There, I said it. They're not garbage. So is CWR now in the camp of Notre Dame, which would be a first?
I don't know what to do here, because this man has been saying they're garbage for 5 years now, 6 years now.
Yeah, for a long time. Jason in Flagstaff, how long ago was the Saints Super Bowl? Only thing I remember about it was they tried to break Brett Favre's foot to get there. That's quite a while now. And Mo, we all know who the genius is. What is that in reference to?
The genius who's proposing these rules, I guess.
Oh, okay. Also, Pelissero on this, talking about the health and safety rules for 2023, just 22% of kickoffs were returned and none in the Super Bowl. The NFL tasked special teams coordinators with creating a rule that both increases return rates and delivers an acceptable injury rate. Their proposal is this: the hope of all parties in this new rule would make the kickoff game exciting again, eliminating the speed and space that might result in higher injury rates while incentivizing teams to put the ball in play. A vote would come at the NFL annual meetings March 24th and through 27th. I don't know how you can have both. It's the whole cake and eat it too scenario, right? How you can, the kickoff play is going to be high speed. I just don't know. I don't know what they're trying to do here. Oh, the genius I'm stealing content from is what he said. I'm not stealing anything. I reference everything I put out there. This is Tom Pelissero. I didn't take this as my own at all. All right, the college football playoff committee, or not committee, but when you start talking about the college football playoff world, On3 tried to strategically, with Andy Staples, look at what a hypothetical SEC Big Ten Super League would be if they parted ways from the NCAA. You know, for a guy like Staples, who's highly connected, for him to start work on a project like this, obviously it's going to get clicks. I would think that maybe he has an inkling this could happen. And in this Super League that he puts together, let me think, 3, and that's 1, 2, 3. It's 28 teams, or 24 teams per league is what it turns out to be. So we're talking about 48 teams. Yes, State and Ole Miss are in this. Because, you know, a lot of the, what's that guy down in Florida? He'd write this expose on why State and Ole Miss shouldn't be in the Super League. But I find this interesting because I do think, and I've always thought this is where we're headed. I didn't know to what degree and how it would look. But Staples does a really good job of this. And so here's some teams that he added to the Southeastern Conference. Clemson, NC State, Miami, that's the U, West Virginia, Virginia Tech, Kansas State and Oklahoma State, and Texas Tech. And he has them in groups of pods. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 pods. Little tickle here. So I'll get into the pods. For instance, Ole Miss and State are in the same pod. In the pod, and look, you can call them pod. It'd almost be like divisions. This looks very similar to the National Football League, by the way. 6 teams: Arkansas, Ole Miss, State, Missouri, LSU, and Vanderbilt. Florida State going to the Big Ten along with North Carolina, Virginia. I'm looking down through here. There's several others. Well, Utah. We'll get into this. Doug Kyle coming up in just a bit.
WRKS Pickens Jackson, where it's
Time
to take a ride. Yes, we're back with Jake Wimberly on the afternoon drive. It's live, it's local, and it's on ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
Hour 3 on the program, brought to you by our friends at Capital Grill and Jackson's Happy Hour. Get a Michelob Ultra or Bud Light. Please drink responsibly. Head over to CapitalGrilleOfJackson.com. Also find them on Facebook as well to get daily promotions and more. Keep up with what Lance has got going on over there. 5050 I-55 North Suite F. 18 TVs to get the game of your choice. Handcrafted foods, beverage specials, and more. Go to CapitalGrilleOfJackson.com. Tony Tadlock will be in with us next segment. Head basketball coach at Raymond. Right now, we join by Doug Kyle as we talk a little college baseball. Get a little update here. College Baseball Central on X. That's College Base CNT. Also find them on YouTube and more. Doug, welcome in.
Jake, how you doing?
Hey, it's Monday. It is Monday. So, hey, let's talk through real quick. We'll start in-state. Mississippi State quietly on a nice little run here, 5-game winning streak. Ole Miss is 2 on a smaller winning streak, but nonetheless, right now when you look at the Southeastern Conference, only Missouri is upside down.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to the game tomorrow night. Both teams are going to come in with 8-4 records, Mississippi State and Southern Miss, and so it looks like it's a pretty even game. And then Ole Miss is like a half game behind them at 8-5. So they all had a pretty good week.
Oh, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Got to put those on top of each other, and we'll be in conference play before you know it. No change at the top in the top 25. You guys have Wake, TCU, Oregon State, Arkansas, and LSU. Of course, Texas A&M, which is are we sleeping on this team? It's won 11 straight ball games. They are 11-0 right now.
Well, we've talked about Braden Montgomery, the Madison native who transferred in from Stanford, and then they have Jace Lavalette, who's probably one of the best outfielders in the SEC. And Jim Schlossnagle, who came over from TCU, he's an established coach with a great track record. So it's not that surprising. But, I would not have guessed that they would be the last undefeated team in the SEC this year, with Alabama losing late last night.
Rounded at the top 10, Florida, Tennessee. I mean, a lot of SEC flair here. Duke, surprisingly, at number 9, and then Clemson at number 10. How good is Duke?
Well, Duke is kind of sneaky good. Some of our ACC writers, we're always going back and forth about which conference is better, ACC or SEC, and they've kind of got a pretty good case right now because Duke's coach, I forget his name, but he's one of the ones that gets brought up on people's short lists sometimes when they start to speculate.
It's interesting with Duke because we know Duke is obviously a basketball mecca under Mike Krzyzewski for many, many decades, and then not a whole lot others. I mean, had some football players, Daniel Jones and some others in football, but you look at Duke, and at least up until now, we'll see what the Manny Diaz regime does at Duke in football, but looks like a deeper level of commitment in football, and now it looks like baseball as well. Yeah.
It's the ACC has always been known as a good basketball conference, and those guys might have a point that the ACC probably can hold their own with the SEC this year in baseball.
Doug Kyle on your radio. You can find them on X College Baseball as well. Get their X feed. Let me get that for you right quick. It's College Baseball Central. That's College Base CNT. College Base CNT. Get their top 25 for the week. Others notables here: Virginia, obviously ACC, Vanderbilt SEC, South Carolina, East Carolina, North Carolina. A lot of the Carolinas, of course, as we've talked about the power of baseball in that region. Texas Tech at 16. How good is Texas Tech? I mean, we know a lot of times teams in the Big 12, they're going to make these runs. But how good is Texas Tech this year?
Well, Texas Tech may be one of the better teams in the state of Texas. If you notice, the Texas Longhorns dropped all the way down to 23. They had a hard weekend in Houston. Went 0 for 3 and lost to Texas State even, on a walk-off. So, the folks in Orange probably had to be leaving, was it Minute Maid Park, not feeling real, superior at that point. And of course, Texas State, they're going to play, I think, later in the year where they play one night in Austin and one night in San Marcos. So, that's a fierce rivalry right there in that little area.
On the back end, of course, as you referenced, Texas at 23, Florida State and Georgia 24-25, Kentucky, NC State 20-21, sandwich in there, Dallas Baptist. It's just that what Dallas Baptist always does in baseball is always very intriguing to me.
It is. A few years ago was the first time I heard of them because they met State somewhere and just kicked their butts. And I'm sitting there thinking, why is a religious school with a city name beating us in baseball? But they've got an established program. You know, one thing that you do not see in the poll is there are no Big Ten teams in the poll this week. We all know what Ole Miss did to Iowa, and then Indiana, I think, went 1-3. Alabama beat them 12-0 the other night. So the Big Ten right now is kind of in free fall. One thing that I need to bring up that happened: South Carolina and Clemson played this past weekend. They got rained out on Friday, but they call it the Palmetto Series. And Clemson won 2 5-4 games. Right before I went on today, I edited and published an opinion piece by our South Carolina writer trying to calm all the fans down who want to fire their coach. So you know it's college sports when you lose 2 in a row to your rival and the fans are ready to fire the coach.
Doug Kyle on your radio talking college baseball. I got one more question for you here. We'll get you on your way here. You referenced the Big Ten. This is the last year of the Pac-12 as we know it. Some Pac-12 flavor. I mean, Oregon, Oregon State is going to be, at least in this conversation, all the way through. It'll be interesting to see what happens in baseball. For instance, Oregon State, Washington State in the, quote, Pac-2 as, we move out of this year into next year.
Yeah, and one of our guys is an Oregon State guy, and we talk sometimes about, how they're going to do it next year. We joke about UCLA going to Rutgers for a Big Ten series, but I don't know if they're going to do that. I've heard talk that, they are going to meet in Dallas halfway and play or something like that. But it's going to be very interesting to see how some of the spring sports like baseball, get managed and get treated when football kind of, makes the rules.
Make sure to find them on X. And, of course, you can do that by just looking for College Baseball CNT. Check them out on YouTube and more. Doug, appreciate your time. Enjoy the week. It should be a fun week of baseball. We'll do it again next week.
Thanks, Jake.
Appreciate it. Doug Kyle on your radio. Make sure to give him a follow for some college baseball coverage as we move forward. We'll have Tony Tenlock in studio here in the next segment. Real quickly, a couple minutes here. Jason and Flagstaff, Mike Bianchi, Orlando Sentinel, USDA Grade A certified. Yeah, he's the guy. He's the guy that wrote the puff piece on several years ago. Mississippi State and Ole Miss didn't need to be in the SEC, and that Central Florida needed to be. Let me go back real quickly and look at where. Oh, got to go back the other way. This Andy Staples piece on. Oh, by the way, what do you think about Jason Kelsey officially retiring from the NFL? Any thoughts on this? Is he mad because he doesn't get the publicity his brother gets? I just always wondered about that. He doesn't seem like he does, though. All right, where is that? There we go. So this college football Super League, it's very similar to the AFC, NFC. 24 teams on one side, 24 teams on the other. And you look in the Big Ten right now, I mean, if Staples, the way he has this proposal, you would add Florida State and North Carolina and Virginia and Pittsburgh into the Big Ten. Also, Notre Dame goes into the Big Ten. I'm just looking through this list. Also, Utah, and that's the teams. I mean, we get down to, so for instance, he has in one division, because you're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4 divisions per side. This is NFL. That's all it is. This is an NFL model. The Super League, SEC Big Ten, Florida, Georgia, Clemson, NC State, South Carolina, and Miami in one division. Now, I don't know if these divisions would hold because you look, for instance, Alabama, Auburn, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, Virginia Tech in one. I mean, I like the way he's done this. I mean, geographically, for instance, Texas, Texas A&M, Texas Tech, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, and Kansas State. You just condense the Big 12, the old Big 12 now, into one division. Penn State, Florida State, North Carolina, Virginia, Pittsburgh, Maryland. That's a division in the Big Ten. He has Michigan, Michigan State, Notre Dame, Indiana, Purdue, Rutgers, UCLA, USC, Oregon, Washington, Utah, and Nebraska. It's kind of the old Pac-12 plus Nebraska. I think this is probably somewhere we're headed something like this. Do you think we're headed something like this? And does Staples have a bead on this? Does he know something we don't? I think he probably does. 601-885-3776 if you want to text us on the Cowboy Maloney's text line. Hey, we are brought to you by Madison PTS. Head over to their website, go to PTSsports.training. That's PTSsports.training. Call 601-898-1828. Let Bill Thomas and his team help you today. Tony Tadlock coming up next.
And action!
We got that and a whole lot more around here. It's the Afternoon Drive with Jake Wimberly.
What's the score?
He's got that, along with the hottest sports stories of the day on ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
We're brought to you by BCI. Go to BCIPeople.com. Call 601-427-4185. Begin your protection plan today. Let BCI help you in your office or place of worship. Nothing. You need this now more than ever when you're talking about dataware hacks, IT services, data backup solutions, and more. Ransomware protection. Go to BCIPeople.com. We're also brought to you by Ameristar Casino. Tony Tadlock in studio, head basketball coach at Raymond. Coach, thank you so much. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me today.
That's kind of a crazy question, right? I mean, you're just coming off another state championship, and I appreciate you jumping in with us. You said today was obviously a good day. A lot of high spirits out in Raymond.
Yeah, teachers, faculty, staff, students, everybody giving high fives, fist bumps, hugs, everything like that to our guys. Obviously, well deserved. Had one of the best seasons in our school's history. So everything that they have coming their way, of course, is greatly appreciated.
For those that may not know your story, just kind of take us through, because when you and I talked Saturday on Side Set after you guys had just won, you said that when you got to Raymond, you said, "Hey, I want to build a different culture. I want to do things different. I want to bring a championship type program to Raymond." Now, for those outside, the Raymond area, people may go, "Why do you want to go to Raymond?" Tell us about that.
Right. So I just left Meridian. We just won a state championship 2017, and the Raymond job came open. And actually, I didn't even have any plans to come to Raymond. I thought I was going to go get a junior college assistant job with my former boss, and he had kind of talked me into taking the Raymond job. And so finally I accepted. I said, okay, I'll do it. And when I do something, I'm going to go full-blown with it. And I know one of the biggest things about building a program, you have to have a foundation, and our foundation is built on our culture. And so I can tell you this, and it's funny now. I was sitting in my interview, and there was about 8 or 9 people, and I made the comment. I said, I want to, make Raymond, into the best basketball program in the state of Mississippi. And there was a couple chuckles even in the interview, and of course that kind of rubbed me the wrong way because I had a mission, I had a vision that I wanted to put in place, for us to get to this point where we are now. And of course, I know things, it takes time, especially if you want to build it to this level that we have. And our first year, they had just won state the year before I got there. And so I knew the bullseye was going to be on our back heavily. So I went and scheduled a bunch of 5 and 6A schools right out the gate. Well, the year before I got there, they were 23-5. By the time we made it to Christmas, we'd already lost 6 games. So, of course, people, the chatter, man, I thought he could coach. We've already lost 6 games this year. We were 9-6 at Christmas. And one thing about it, my guys never wavered. We were 9-6. And I said, if we can just make it to Christmas, we're going to be okay. And we ended up winning 20 in a row after Christmas and finished 29-6. And that kind of laid the foundation to where we are now. We finished 29-6, won a state championship, and the rest is history because we just followed suit every year. Tough schedule early. And us being in 4A, it kind of gives us an advantage because I'm going to go play the Clintons, the Meridians, the Terrys, Provine, Lanier, or Lanier's in our district, but Callaway, teams like that early just so we can get battle tested so when we do get back in our district. We're ready to make that run for a state championship, which we've, been there 8 straight years now.
Tony Tadlock in studio. If you got a question for Coach Tadlock, you can text 601-885-3776. That is the Cowboy Maloney's text line. So when you got to Raymond and you referenced coming off the championship, what was the response from the young men? I mean, obviously, and this being a coach, you take over a program in different there's going to be different responses how you take a team over. For instance, if you took over a team that had not won a whole lot, then you got to have that buy-in. If you take over a team of guys who won a championship, maybe they think, well, I mean, look, you're a new coach. We already know what we're doing. The cultures are all going to be different across the board.
That's right. And I think it starts at the top with every head coach has their own vision of what they want their culture to look like. I just knew Raymond hadn't won a championship since 99, and when they won it in 17, I said, how are we going to handle those expectations? We've never won it. None of these guys have ever won it till now. Are they going to come back next year? And I knew we needed to get hit in the mouth early. That's why I say, I know Canton and Brandon and Murrah and a bunch of those teams, Meridian beat us early, and we needed that. We needed to be humbled, because coming back from a championship, you're going to feel like you're just going to win it again just because you show up. And we had lost 3 starters from the year before that. So I knew younger bunch, And I think a lot of people were kind of intimidated to take that job because they just won a state championship and they didn't want those expectations. And one thing about me, I'm always up for the challenge. I want to be able to prove myself. And that's one reason why I'm so grateful for Raymond, because they gave me a chance when they didn't have to. I didn't have any connections at Raymond when interviewed. The first interview, came back, interviewed again, and they called me and asked did I want the job. And, of course, I took it, and now we're here. So.
Talk a little bit about this group of guys. And I said this Saturday, and I meant it because, obviously they're working all these games. And nothing against any of the other teams. 14 teams there, guys, girls, they're all really good. You don't just show up there. That you got to win your way there. Right. Your team looks different, and people have said this. They look like they have fun. Not that the other kids aren't. It's a different level. I mean, it's a different level. You guys are sitting there the second half against Macomb, and that's a good opponent, really good opponent. But they look like they're having fun. They're playing faster than most people. They're a step ahead, and it looks like organized chaos in that. It is run and gun, and they trust each other. It's just it's a fun team to watch.
Yeah, and I wish the outsiders could come see a practice of ours. That's one thing that we pride ourselves on. We try to make practice way harder than the games. We value culture. Every Wednesday we sit down, we do something called character counts. We talk about anything from life, basketball, how to be a man, how to be a good husband, how to be a good son, whatever it may be. And I just think all that ties into being a good basketball player. One of our quotes that we live by is we're going to win long before we ever step on the floor. And we value what the bench looks like. That's one thing that we take great pride in. Our bench is going to be energetic. They're going to wave towels. I mean, I've gotten complaints from officials all year about how my bench likes to come on the floor, and that's something that I can deal with, just because it shows how excited they are, and it just rubs off because they know their time is coming. I'm graduating, 6, 7 seniors, and they know their time is coming next year, and they'll want that next group to be able to cheer them on, and that started, again, 7 years ago as well. Just our culture in place. And it's so much fun coaching this group. I think I told them maybe 100 times this year. I said, in my 13 years of coaching, this was by far the funnest. And I didn't say that after we won state. I said that back in October, November, December. I just knew this group had something special about them. And the biggest fear I had was them not being rewarded by winning a state championship. And so I put a little bit more pressure on myself this year because I wanted to make sure that this group got that ring that they deserve.
Talk about some of those guys. I mean, you've got guys going – now guys going to play in the SEC, guys going to play college basketball. It's a heck of a group.
Yeah, we got a kid signing Demarion Terry, and he's our first kid off the bench. So it just shows you how deep we were this year. And one thing I'm going to do, I'm going to advocate for my guys all the time. I'm going to make sure they're at camps. We're in front of college coaches. That's why we play in a lot of big games, because I know college coaches don't want to come see you play a team that you're going to beat by 40, and they don't really care what the kid does in that game because it doesn't matter. And so playing in big games obviously gets our kids a lot of exposure. The way we practice when college coaches come in, they'll tell you now they're not recruiting individual talent, they're recruiting programs. And I know you know that, you're around sports. And so if I can get a kid from a championship program, he may not score as much as the kid at a school that only won 8 games, but he knows how to defend, he knows how to rebound, and he knows how to be coached hard. All the little intangibles it takes to be a good player. That's one thing that we take great pride in. Mekhi Strong, I can go on with him. He was the MVP of the state tournament. He's going to sign next week. My point guard, he's got multiple offers. Of course, EJ's going to Mississippi State. Got another kid, Kamarius Lewis, got 4 or 5 JUCO offers, and then Kemonte Wright rounds us out. He's got 3 or 4 JUCO offers. So that's one thing that we're very proudful in. Not only do we teach our young men how to play basketball, and of course we want them to graduate high school and be successful, but they got a chance to go on and do this for a couple more years for free, and I know that's a big blessing for them.
Talk about EJ a little bit more. I mean, obviously, he's a guy that when he walks on the court, he stands out. I mean, he's just, I've always said this, certain athletes walk a certain way, they move a certain way. Right. I can remember the first time I ever saw John Rice Plumlee. I had no idea, working for Brandon, I said, who's going to be the quarterback? They'd have a quarterback change, and I looked around and I said, it's going to be that guy in the warm-ups. And they said, how'd you know that? I said, he walks different. He moves different. Mm-hmm. EJ's that way.
EJ will be the first one in the gym at 7:30 every morning. He's going to be the last one to leave. It's funny, the day before the state championship game, I told him, I said, EJ, it's okay. You've been here 45 minutes after everybody else. We're waiting on him to leave so we can watch the close. And he's just such a unique kid, comes from a great family. I can coach that kid as hard as I want to coach him. And I tell people all the time about him, for him to have the number 1 ranking next to his name, he's almost shy of that. Like, he's not the type that wears that with pride, because he don't want to seem like he's better than the rest of the team. And, he's such an unselfish kid. He wants to win. He's really a big kid. That's what he is. And then when I talk to Coach Jans, from Mississippi State all the time, I said, not only are you getting a great player, you're getting an even better kid. He's going to go to class, makes good grades. He never misses school. He does all the little things that you'd want, to build your team around.
Tony Tadlock in studio. We got to take a timeout. We are brought to you by Capital Orthopedic. Online at capitalortho.com, helping you in several locations like Flowood, Madison, Clinton, Brandon, Hazelhurst, and Kosciuszko. Move better, live better, and be better. Go to capitalortho.com. 601-987-8200. Back with more in just a bit.
Turning to sports.
With Jake Wimberly on the afternoon drive.
One of the last pure pleasures I have left in my life.
Yeah, maybe you ought to get a life first, okay? On ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
We're brought to you by Sound and Communications, online at soundcomav.com. Collaborate, design, and build. Let Sound and Communications help you today. They've been around since 1955, and they will help you in your office, church, or place of worship, school, government buildings, medical facilities, and more. Learn more today. Go to soundcomav.com. Tony Tadlock, head basketball coach at Raymond. They are your 4A champion. And, of course, tomorrow will be the MHSAA Mr. and Mrs. Basketball Awards. Of course, Eric Payman, EJ Payman will be awarded the 4A winner. Man, I tell you what, and not just saying this, what the MHSA has done with these awards, obviously Mr. Football for several years, now Mr. and Mrs. Basketball, Miss Volleyball, baseball, softball. It's a smaller version of the Connerly and all the awards going on there, and I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I do too. They've actually asked me the last couple of years to be on the committee to select the coaches for that, and it's been fun doing that. Obviously you can't be on the committee if you have a player that's involved, but of course just being able to call around and talk to coaches. One, it just highlights your sport. Because we know football is king in the South. But for them to be able to expand and give other recognition, because there are a lot of talented athletes in this state that need to be recognized, especially in their individual sports. So I think that's obviously a blessing that they've expanded that.
Let me ask you this. Talking about, and we'll get back to Raymond because I do have some other questions as far as, what's next and just some other stuff as far as the program. I hear this a lot from high school football coaches about name, image, and likeness. And, of course, that's the hot thing, and we know that. The collectives, where's college football going, but then also where's basketball going, where's baseball going, because it's going on in all sports. And from a recruiting side, and I think you referenced you're going after you leave here to watch a junior college basketball game. Some of your former players are playing. Coaches will say, hey, back in the day, which is just a few years ago, if you had, say Mississippi State or Ole Miss recruiting players in the state of Mississippi, trying to fill out a 25-man roster, a guy that maybe is, quote, a tweener, you don't know where he's going to be, they take a shot on that guy to fill out, their roster. Now they're going into the transfer portal. Let's make it harder on high school kids. Are you seeing that in basketball as well from a recruiting side, from high school kids to get that shot at the next level?
Absolutely. I had many coaches that recruited EJ, from the highest level in the country to the lowest level, and that's one of the things that they would say, like, man, we really want to take a shot on him. But it's a lot easier getting a 21-year-old that's already made, and he's more physical. He's been on this level, so he's obviously a little bit more polished. But in the last probably year, this was EJ's 10th grade year. Well, now in the last year, I've heard a lot of coaches say they have to get back to recruiting a lot of high school kids because dealing with these 21, 22-year-olds that have transferred multiple times, it's a lot of headache involved with that because you're starting to see the development of when it gets tough, I'm just going to shut down and quit. I'm transferring somewhere else. And I think that's setting up bad precedents in college athletics. Or just, and I'm going to use the kid at Ole Miss this year, Quinshon Judkins. I don't think he's so much left Ole Miss because they weren't going to pay him. I just don't think they could pay him enough because I know Ohio State was going to pay him, even more than he was getting at Ole Miss. And I know at Ole Miss, I don't want to misquote it, but I know he was making over $1 million up there. And so you're saying, is $1 million not enough for a college athlete to make it at Ole Miss? And so I just think there needs to be some limits on how they do that. Now, how they do that, I can't tell you because that's tough. How can you say how much a kid should get, how much he shouldn't get? Should there be a salary cap involved? And I know it's tough on college coaches. I think that's why you see a lot of these older coaches getting out now because not only do I have to go do that for the high school kids, now I got to get in the portal and recruit, and then I have to recruit my own kids again after I just recruited you to come to my school. So I know that's extremely tough on coaches that one has been in it for so long, like the Nick Sabans, those guys, now they're having to fight with their own kids and, basically beg them because I know at Raymond High School, and I'm just going to use that, that's one thing I don't have to do is beg a kid to come to practice. Our culture set. But if they start allowing high schools to pay kids, I almost would have to do that, or find ways to, generate revenue for them to want to stay at Raymond. So I get how tough that is on that level. And And I know it's a battle that needs to be fixed, really fast.
No, absolutely. And I feel like here in the state of Mississippi, we're probably safe. But I know that in other states, and we know this, they're allowing some name, image, and likeness in high school sports. And I really hope that continues to be out of high school sports here, because I can't imagine. I mean, I know the stories that go on with playing time. And we know this. I mean, you get down to youth leagues, city leagues, tournament ball, regardless if it's baseball, basketball, whatever, the problems you have potentially with some parents, not to put everybody in the same bucket. We know that. We joke about that on this show. But can you imagine 13, 14, 15-year-olds and parents when you start talking about money? I mean, kids can't even process that. I mean, a lot of adults can't, right? I'm going to put myself in that. So, but if you put that mixture, that additive on the fire, it's explosive.
Yeah, I mean, kids can't even get up and set their alarm clock without their mom or dad waking them up, much less being able to handle money on their own, or telling a coach how much they need to be able to stay at this school. Or, then you start talking about playing time. If my kid doesn't get this, or I'm going to pad the coach's pocket a little bit. When money starts getting thrown around like that, I just think it's a bad thing. And hopefully, like you said, it'll never, jump into Mississippi, because I know that would be tough to have to deal with each and every day, because I'll be the first one to tell you, if you don't want to be here, you can leave, because that's one thing about me. They don't have to beg me to be at Raymond. I don't want to beg to, have anybody on my team at Raymond. And so, but like I say, if money's involved, that's a totally different game.
In that aspect, and that turns back to culture, kind of having a no-nonsense, like you don't let the natives run the tribe, so to speak. Right. Have you seen an uptick in youth basketball in that area? For instance, talking to people over in Neshoba Central, and when you start getting to Philadelphia, those stories are fascinating. The fact that I think I was told over the weekend, 100-plus teams play in like those youth leagues. I mean, to get on those clubs and those high school teams, I mean, it's almost like Simon swimming down a stream, right? You got to almost be – you can get cold. I mean, and you're talking about, what, 15, 16 – you run, 15, 16, 17 guys on a roster?
Yes. So this year was the most I've ever had. I think we dressed 18 every night. Normally I dress about 14 or 15, but I had a big senior class, so I wanted some other guys to be able to get experience. But, I mean, yeah, and I know exactly what you mean about Neshoba County, because that area has grown tremendously, in Neshoba County, Choctaw. And, of course, we played Choctaw in the semifinals. And just a testament to them, they brought 17 buses down to the state tournament to watch us play,
Wow.
Choctaw and us. So when I tell you they love basketball in that area, and it just shows how competitive it is, on that level.
So what's been the response as far as, again, we go back to football. We know how important the 8th grade, 7th, 8th grade, 9th grade, similarly so basketball, the same, to make sure that your junior high programs are up to speed.
Absolutely. And I'll even take you back to when I was in Meridian. When I got the head 9th grade job, one thing I was telling my coach, I said, whatever we do at the high school level, I want to be able to do with my 9th grade team. In the last 4 years I was there, we went 52-0. That group, when they got to high school, when they were all 9th through 12th grade, we won a state championship. So I know the importance of building that foundation in the 9th grade. So when they do get to that 10th grade year, 11th grade year, 12th grade year, same terminology, same principles, same discipline, all the same things, that obviously it makes it a lot easier transition from that 9th grade to that high school year. And if you don't value that, you may have a good team, but you're not going to have a good program over the long haul. So middle school, 9th grade is definitely key to our success in Raymond.
You don't see it as much, or at least I don't see it as much on social media. 3, 4, 5 years ago, there was a lot of knuckleheads, and you talk to NFL scouts, you talk to college recruiters in a lot of sports. First thing they do is they go and look at somebody's social media, because they want to make sure that, hey, these guys or girls are buttoned up. How often do you preach that? How important is that for you?
Oh, yeah, we that's part of our character counts. I mean, we talk about social media is basically, an interview for you now. I can get on somebody's social media and I can see what their character is, how they live their life, what kind of person they are, all those things. So that's one thing we try to tell people all the time. The way you present yourself on social media, it can cost you a scholarship. It can also help you gain a scholarship. It can cost you a job. It can help you gain a job. And so the way you portray yourself in there is obviously key, to, who you are.
Yeah, and, I'd like to think that we're moving, the young people, we're moving some of that forward. But then you still see some of these situations where it's just it's wow.
Yeah.
What they put out there from a video at a party, or what they're doing at home, and and again, I've had coaches say, look, if I go, especially if I'm looking for a quarterback, if his social media is less than par, we're likely going to take a pass on him.
Yeah, and it's funny that you bring that up about, people's social media. It doesn't even have to be so much what you post. It's what you're doing at a party that someone else records and then they post. I mean, I hate to bring this up, but like the Laramie Tunsil incident, there's things like that, he obviously he didn't post that, but his own people did, and it cost him a lot of money in the draft. And, of course, he's been able to make it back now, but everybody's not that fortunate to be able to do that. And so, we really try to stress all social media, what they do on there and how to monitor it. And because we have ways where we monitor it too as coaches.
Before I get to take a break, we'll come back. I want to talk a little bit more on the junior college system. We got one more break. I didn't realize till we were talking. I know he's not going to mind. J.R. Downs, I did not realize y'all were kin. I am sorry for you.
Yeah, some days that's good and some days that's not. He's probably going to say something to me when I leave here about saying that.
Yeah, and that's Beaver's buddy. Doesn't he owe you a shirt or a hat or something? A Pearl Pirate something?
I think JR owes me a bunch of Pearl stuff.
Well, he's got connections there, so he ought to be able to help out.
See, we need to. JR needs to pay up, right? He needs to pay up. Hey, we're brought to you by Clinton Body Shop. 2 locations to serve you: Clinton and Richland, OEM factory certified. 601-924-2159. Make sure to check them out on their website. Go to ClintonBodyShop.com. Your family's safety and your car's value is most important at Clinton Body Shop. Back in a bit.
It's time to get
Back in the game
with Jake Wimberly and the Afternoon Drive.
That's entertainment.
On the station that specializes in the Mississippi sports you love.
Now we talking.
Live and local on ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
Final segment on a Monday. We are brought to you by Rebel Hardware, Rebel Outdoor Power. Make sure that you check them out at a location near you. It's time to crank up and grab savings on Gravely zero-turn mowers at Rebel Outdoor Power and Rebel Ace Hardware. You can do that. For 74 years, Rebel has earned the community's trust by giving you top value for your dollar. Go to RebelOutdoor.com. That's Rebel Ace Hardware, Rebel Outdoor Power. Tony Tadlock in with us another segment. Appreciate him jumping in. Appreciate Doug Kyle, also Chris Landry. And, Coach, we're talking a little bit about the junior college system. You're headed to watch some junior college basketball. And, I just feel like sometimes we need to put more emphasis, and that's me, put myself in that, because we don't cover it enough. But we know about the success in football, basketball, baseball. It is a great, great product that the state of Mississippi has.
Oh, absolutely. It gives them another avenue to be able to go get 2 free years of a college degree and go play 2 years of college basketball, and then hopefully turn that into 2 more years so they can go get their, a 4-year degree. Since I've been at Raymond, I was trying to think when we were off air, I've probably had 18 or 19 kids in 7 years sign junior college. So without junior college, those kids would have never had a chance. And a bunch of those kids went and signed Division I after that. So, of course, that was their next step to be able to get to where they were trying to go. And so definitely grateful for our junior college system in the state of Mississippi. And like I say, I'm going down to Hines tonight to watch 2 of my former players, Christian Noel and Tremaine Dixon, who was a part of our 2022 state championship team.
What's your message? I'm sure that you preach that because, like everything else, you've got to guide these young men because everybody wants to go play, basketball specifically, SEC, ACC. I mean, they want to be in the big programs. Can't everybody be in the big programs? But that's okay. What do you tell your guys as far as, just at a base level on recruiting?
Oh, yeah, and we talk about recruiting starting in the 9th grade. That goes back to our weekly talks. If you have an opportunity to play after high school, you're blessed. I mean, because we do have seniors that don't have that opportunity. And so we value the JUCO system. Of course, Hines being right down the road from us, we go check them out when we have former players or just to go catch a game. Normally they let our guys in and, so they get to see how competitive that level is. Sometimes junior college, when people hear that, they're like, oh, that's just junior college. No, there's a lot of really good players in junior college. There's a kid that was at Hines 2 years ago. Now he's at the University of New Orleans. He's one of the top scorers in the country, and so a lot of guys they need that opportunity. So JUCO provides that, and now they excel in junior college. Now they're able to, excel at the Division I level. So I definitely feel like our junior college system is very beneficial in the state of Mississippi.
We could go down football or basketball with this next thing I want to ask you about, and it's toughness. Not these guys aren't tough, right? I mean, these guys today, athletes, you go look at the NFL draft or NFL combine this past week, 40 record was broken. I mean, we see higher end speeds, stronger guys. I mean, it just continues to get better. But a lot of times people say, especially with basketball, well, they just want to shoot threes or they just want to get the dunk. But even watching your team again, very, very tough. Yes. How do you teach toughness in a day and age where, this isn't the day of the Pistons and it's not the day of the 80s and the 90s basketball. It's a different basketball where sometimes we see toughness does not show up in every level of basketball.
Right. I'll go back to 2017-18, my first year. That group was extremely tough, physical, dove on the floor for loose balls, took charges, things like that. That's one thing that we preach from day one. From our drills that we incorporate, we lift weights out of season 3 to 4 days a week. We lift weights in season 2 days a week. We did it, before the state championship. 2 days for the state championship game. Just to be able to provide that mental toughness, because I know, especially on the basketball side, I think that gets overlooked. Football, of course, you got to lift weights to be tough, in their mind. But basketball, that kind of gets overlooked. I think you need to be more skilled than, let's go live in the weight room, which I think there's some truth to that, but I also think you got to have a good balance with that. So we use a lot of our time on the floor, skill, but we also use a lot of that time in that weight room just to build mental toughness. And, of course, we have so many drills, diving on the floor, taking charges, rebounding drills against one another, where we're encouraging push, shove, do things like that. Because if you can do it against that, of course, in the game, most of the time you may get called a foul. But, one thing that we try to do is teach not only physical toughness but mental toughness as well. We don't like to complain to the referees or complain to teammates or when things don't go our way. You have to be mentally tough to be able to win as well.
When you look at college basketball, of course, we'll have the NCAA tournament coming up here in the next few weeks, and I was just going through some bracketology in the first hour, and it's amazing to see some of these teams that you see, like last year, for instance, San Diego State making the run to the championship game. We've seen your UC Irvines and non-directional schools or directional schools now, 16s beat 1s, 15s beat 2, and a lot of that is obviously churn, roster churn. From a coaching aspect, if you just put your coaching hat on, we know, and you referenced about coaches leaving college and going to the National Football League or hear that. Basketball equally, you can have a roster churn of LSU a couple years ago. I think it was they had 8 to 10, I can't remember the exact number, off that team. They had to go recruit new ones. I can't imagine. As hard as football is, basketball equally tougher.
Equally tougher, yeah. And it's funny you bring that up about the smaller schools. One of my good friends in coaching, Todd Abernathy, he's actually an assistant at Florida Atlantic. They made that incredible run last year.
Sure.
And a lot of the schools across the country came and tried to poach a lot of their players because they're at Florida Atlantic, and they got a lot of those guys to stay because of the culture that their coach builds. And everybody just raves about how good of a job he does at making it feel like a family and things like that. So, of course, I think that's equally important, but I saw a tweet the other day. I wish I could remember it. There was about 7 teams on that list that were projected to make the tournament before the season, and they all had at least 6 or more transfers, and none of the 7 were in the bracketology as making the tournament. So it also shows that you can't just live and die by the portal either. You got to be able to recruit some of your own, keep them within your program, and then maybe you get you a piece or two to add to your team. But you can't have a team full of transfers and think you're going to win a national championship or even compete for one.
This is going to be probably a weird question on basketball specific, but we see it in the NBA. The bigger and bigger play of the Euro game. College, we see it too, and this to the normal basketball guy or girl watching, they may not notice, but it is a different game. How much is the Euro game, if at all, affecting high school coaching and do you take anything from it? Is it a totally different type of deal? Does that make sense? What I'm asking as far as style and coaching?
Yeah, and I think that also goes back to what you allow. Are you a team that encouraging, like you say, when you watch us play, we look a little different. Well, one thing that we're going to do every day in practice, we're encouraging get the ball out of your hands, get the ball at the floor. The ball's not going to stick. E.J. Payman averaged 21, 22 a game for us. On most teams, he probably could have averaged 27 to 30, but he knew he had to take a lesser role because Mekhi Strong or Kemarius Lewis or whoever it may be, they can go for 16 or 17 on any given night. So we're going to preach sharing the ball, get the ball out of your hands. Don't be selfish, those things like that. Now, another reason is because they don't have a choice either. They can come sit by me or they can figure it out because I know what it takes to obviously, bring home a championship, and selfish basketball is not that. And the Euro League, they do a good job. Of course, I've had some guys go over and play overseas, and they just talk about even the transition to that is a little different than the States because they play a different brand, a different style, and the ball pops, it moves. It's not a bunch of isolation one-on-one games and, stuff like that. So there is a big difference.
And, you can take that even into this NCAA tournament, but maybe this is more cohesiveness, like what you were talking about with Florida Atlantic. You'll see Kentucky. They look amazing every year. John Calipari does a great job with that program, but the roster churn is so high, whereas if you get an FAU or you get who knows? It could be. I'm just sitting here looking at some of these Grand Canyon. I mean, you can kind of throw a dart at the dartboard. It could be McNeese State. It could be one of these teams that we don't pay attention to that's maybe had guys together. They can come up and knock off these teams, and I would think it would be maybe a little different brand of basketball, maybe a little cohesiveness. There's a lot that goes in there, but we see more of that each and every year in this tournament.
Yep. And just to give you an example of that about Raymond High School, the 2 years we finished number 1, we brought back 4 or 5 starters from the year before. It just makes us that much better. You don't have to teach experience. You don't have to teach a lot of the things that just become natural that next year. And a lot of your lower level schools, those kids aren't leaving McNeese to go to LSU. They're not getting looked at by them. LSU's going to get the 5-star kid from California, Texas, wherever. So that kid or those kids are staying there. They're growing, developing. And that's one thing that made Jay Wright at Villanova good all those years. When he used to win the national championships, he would have a lot of 4th and 5th year seniors. And, of course, they're able to make that run because of the cohesive unit that they are compared to Kentucky, who may have John Wall as a freshman, those type guys. But they're 18-year-old really good instead of 22-year-old mature, ready to go like the Villanova teams of the past.
Tony Tadlock, head basketball coach, Raymond 4A champions this year. Coach, I appreciate your time. That's good stuff. We'll do it again.
Absolutely. Let's definitely do it again.
Appreciate Chris Landry, Tony Tadlock, Doug Kyle jumping in. Remember, ketchup is king, bacon's a delicacy. Aloha means goodbye. We'll have Kelly Ford in tomorrow. We'll visit in Starkville and Oxford or other places as well. We'll carry you through the week. Have a great night. Good night.